tonight, November 24th, pursuant to Governor Baker's March 12th, 2020 order suspending certain provisions of the open meeting law, Chapter 30A, Section 18, and the Governor's March 15, 2020 order imposing strict limitation on the number of people that may gather in one place. This meeting of the Southborough Trails Committee will be conducted via remote participation to the greatest extent possible. Specific information and the general guidelines for remote participation by members of the public and/or parties with a right and/or requirement to attend this meeting can be found on the Town of Southborough's website at https://www.southboroughtown.com. For this meeting, members of the public who wish to watch or participate in the meeting may do so in the following manner by finding the meeting at https://www.southboroughtown.com/remote meetings. No in-person attendance of members of the public will be permitted, but every effort will be made to ensure that the public can adequately access the proceedings in real time via technological means. In the event that we are unable to do so, despite best efforts, we will post on Southborough's website an audio or video recording, transcript, or other comprehensive record of proceedings as soon as possible after the meeting. So we'll do a roll call vote. Isabel Murphy.
Present.
Tom McCoolier.
Present.
And Catherine McKee is here. Thank you both. Okay, so approved meeting minutes. I did not circulate them. Sati prepared them, so we'll get those taken care of next meeting. So
I mean, is it the same ones that we saw? Didn't we distribute? Oh no, there was some edits to it. Never mind.
yeah, we took care of those. From
Okay.
last week. We approved as amended. Okay, so number 3, installation of map kiosk at Fayville Park. I reached out to Tim Davis to check on DPW's schedule, and they've been delayed based on the basketball court, so that's not yet done. And he does think it will be done this month or December this year. I asked if he thought it would get punted to next year, but we did think it was positive to go forward this year, so that's still outstanding. Letters of support to DCR requesting the prioritization of the public access plan for the Peninsula Trail, aka Burroughs Loop Aqueduct Trail. So we talked last time, I think the Southborough had already sent theirs or just had sent theirs. The time is blurring, but those communities that have sent the letter so far include Marlborough, Sudbury Valley Trustees, and Southborough. Those communities who have agreed to but have not yet, they're in the works, would be Northborough, Westborough, and MAPC. So that's good. All of those that we asked to send letters of support have agreed to do so, and it's just in different stages. So that's good news. And just to remind us, the purpose of doing this is like our first step in trying to encourage the public access plan to move forward on the list of priorities for DCR. And based on our CPC meeting last week, we may take some different approaches based on some of the feedback, which we can talk in just a few minutes. We had discussed whether we could do the DCR Mass Trails Grant. So that's due in February 2021. As of our last meeting, I had spoken with Amanda Lewis, I believe, and she recommended that we reach out to DCR and find out if we could can submit a trail proposal form in advance of a public access plan. And the answer is no, we cannot. It's putting the cart before the horse in a big way. They need the public access plan in place before they can approve the trail proposal form. So that's the answer, and we will not be submitting a grant because of it. Any questions on that piece?
No, just a little disappointing.
It is disappointing. I think it's just we tried, so now we know. And they understand it's something we're trying to get done. So hopefully with our efforts with the community, this will help move things forward. So I don't know if we brought this up last meeting or not, but I had met with Melissa, the conservation agent, to discuss whether we needed what kind of permits we would need from conservation, yes, because we're near the wetlands. And so it was just after our last meeting that Tom and I met with the two fencing vendors on the 29th. So we did confirm with MWRA that the fencing project is within the 50-foot buffer of wetland. So it will require a notice of intent, which is a bigger process than an RDA. So it's just an application process. We have to go through the steps and go in front of the Conservation Commission, a few hearings and whatnot.
Now, we can't do that until we have the public access plan.
Yes.
So everything's really hinging on.
So that's a good question about the order of operations. And so we can stop and think about what that means. Because the notice of intent is a 3-year, I think it's for 3 years. And then you may have to do some renewals of such. So given that there is a timeline around that, I do want to try to line it up a little bit where we're not wasting 2 of the first years just trying to get a public access plan. And then we have to go and renew it suddenly and right away. So we want to kind of line things up.
So if I understand what you're saying, we should do the notice of intent, and not I'll do haste, but don't put it off.
It's not that we don't want to put it off. We want to time it right. Right.
Can't
So
we submit it now, since that's a town thing?
well, technically it depends. So we could, I'd have to check to see if we can, because I'm pretty sure it's going to come up at conservation. Do you have permission to do this? And if we don't have a public access plan and we get nothing in writing, we need permission. So there may be some of that. The other thing is, if it has a 3-year, if it's good for 3 years and 2 of the first 3 years are just waiting for DCR to put a public access plan in place, then what have we really, I don't see the advantage to jumping ahead that much until we have a little bit more known. But I do like your thinking that let's get it in place. It definitely, well, I say definitely, there's no definite. So in 2021, we could, when we know more, when DCR starts their public access plan process again, we'll know that we can move forward. How about that?
Yeah,
that's one of our
I like that. When they're actually moving on their plan, let's just proactively do the notice of intent.
Yeah, because we definitely don't want to wait until it's time to pull a difficult grant process together. We want to have all of that in order. And because we have to put a trail proposal form in front of DCR, they want to see the notice of intent, and they made it very clear that they do not allow any leniency, that they interpret everything to the letter of the law. So if there's any question at all about whether it's this or it's that, go ahead and err on the side of caution. And
no, I agree. Let's just wait until they start in there.
So yeah, that's that. And so next is CPA funding application. So I don't know, Tom, if you had an opportunity to take a look at the.
No, I did not. Shame on me, but no, I did not.
No, it's fine.
Hey, welcome home. Hi, say hi to Mr. Marcolier.
Hey, how you doing?
Hey guys.
Hi. Oh, I love you.
You too, later.
All right,
Do
is
you want me
Christina
to
there?
interrupt? She is.
Okay, good. We'll start ordering
Tell
food.
Zach I said hi, Mr. Margolier.
I will.
Thank you.
Okay, welcome home, son.
Hi.
So
Trails meeting.
Oh, trail on.
Hold on. Let me hit the.
okay.
All right, Kat. I think Isabel attended or reviewed it, right?
Yeah, she did. She was there. So
Oh yeah.
so I think the meeting went well. The committee had some good questions. A lot of the questions really focused on, do you have permission? 1, and 2 is, why would we, the town, fund fencing project and sign project on DCR property when it's not town-owned property?
I think one point of clarification, I think it was more, why would we be putting the fencing on versus the signage? And the reason I say that is I want to kind of put a mark about the signage, because I want to talk to you about that.
Yeah, but where? So I think it was one of the committee members specifically said, even if we do the signage, why would we put beautiful signage up on land that if we don't have, if the public access plan isn't, if it's only for 5 or number of years, and then DCR in the future could take away access to this, and then we've invested this money for the projects, then we are out that money on both the signs and the fencing. So it was a good point. And we don't have an answer as to why DCR is asking the town or the committee to do this, other than this is where I came in the conversation. I went back and looked at our PowerPoint that when we met in 2017 with MWRA and DCR, and that was on the table that, you know, we would be in charge of the fencing as far as if
Yeah, I will also in balance. I think looking at the entire committee, it went through immediately and they put a placeholder in. They thought it was a great idea. There was one member of the committee who was very outspoken.
Which
And-
committee are you talking about now? The CPA?
Community Preservation
Yes,
Committee.
and
Yeah.
she only was there for a day because then she was going back to Disney. But she,
Oh, it's Dorian. I mean, it's an open meeting. We could say who it was.
okay, yeah. My point is, I think on balance, we should recognize that there were a number of people who were for it. There was one person who was outspoken, and I think that's another. I think we have to look at it from a number of different angles.
Yes, no, I appreciate that perspective. I think that no one's against the project itself. Everyone, you know, I think people
Yeah.
appreciated the project. It was more like, well, why are we, if it's not on our land, town-owned land, and there's not, you know, a lifelong license to use that land, then is this the right use of the funds for the land?
Now, the question for you is lifelong license to use the land.
Those are my words.
No, it's good words. So if they open the public access for that trail, is it a certain time frame? The reason why
Mhm.
Good question.
Wachusett Mountain, they build buildings, they build trails, they build infrastructure, but that is state-owned land that they have I think
Who builds it?
year lease. And that's why you said lifetime lease, because, you know,
Yeah.
most people.
Yeah, they have a 99-year lease.
The town does?
No,
No.
no,
Mountain, a publicly traded commercial company that runs the ski area,
Oh,
a for-profit company, nothing to do with the government, have a 99-year lease on the mountain. So they're
Oh.
actually building things, investing capital, building buildings, trails, lifts, et cetera, parking lots, et cetera,
good.
on state land.
Okay, good. That's a great example because I started to go through the database and look for the CPA, the Community Preservation Coalitions.org site, and started looking for projects that this might have occurred on. And what I'm finding recurring theme is that a lot of the projects the money is used for as town-owned land.
I know.
So that's an interesting perspective. And so
we don't know.
normally, like our current public access plan with DCR and our trails, I think it was signed in 2016. So it's a 5-year plan with an option to renew for a couple years after that. And I don't know, I know some access plans may have different terms. So this might be a 10-year plan or a 15-year plan. I'm sure DCR does not want to go through this process often, right? So they build in renewal options and such things. So perhaps that's one of the things we could look at. I don't know if we have any say in, hey, can we have a 20-year plan to make folks feel more comfortable with it? But it is something to think about. I don't know the term of that plan. The other thing is that came up, an idea is, would DCR split the cost with us? They fund half the cost and then we fund the other cost, half of it. And so that was an option. And in a way that's what DCR grants are, so it's interesting because if we could get the grant, it's essentially DCR paying via a grant for the fencing on their property, or the fencing.
which we can't get because they're holding up the public access. So in reality, I think, so I'm going to kind of, Tom, let me bring you up to date where I'm going. I personally think that we should propose to speak to Carolyn Dykema and ask her if they would consider two things. One is pushing through the public access plan, seeing what needs to happen to get that done. The other is consider splitting the cost of the fencing.
Considering we don't have a long-term public access to the property. I think when we were asking the second, I agree with the first point. The second point, I would just add, to split the cost because we do not have a long-term agreement for access for the property. And the town could be spending valuable refunds for something that they can't use in a few years. I don't know, something
Yeah.
like.
The other thing I think we should also do is, I think we should, no matter what, we should keep the placeholder in with the CPA grant. And I think we might want to, because we can we can change it up even as late as town meeting. And one of the things I think we should do is, instead of it being fencing and signage, it should be the idea of signage and fencing. And my thought process there is that if we get a lot of kickback and the fencing part doesn't go through, at least what we're doing is establishing at this, as the Trails Committee, that we want to put signs around advertising, you know, and giving greater access to the trails.
Advertising and sharing Southborough's history. I think.
Yes.
Yeah, so, and the, right, information about nature and forest management and the importance of watershed and those types of things too, yeah.
But, yeah, and like I said, the history part will get a lot of people.
Exactly.
So I want to ask a question because I've been thinking about this from the perspective of, okay, so we've got an ask of DCR, which is please prioritize the access plan. And by the way, please pay for half of the project that you want us to. So do you see my little bit of a dilemma is that if we're reaching out to Carolyn, I think our ask, because DCR could come back and easily say, well, fill out an application for a grant in 2022. What's holding you back? We're happy to pay for it via a grant, which we've put out for you to use that money for. So would our ask of Carolyn be, instead of a twofold ask, because that's complicated, you know what I mean? We're asking someone to go out on a limb or to help us move something forward. Is the ask first, let's get the public access plan in place. Can we start with that ask instead of complicating it? And I don't mean to say complicated. If you guys think it's the right ask to do a two-part, then we can do that. Maybe we give her the background and let her decide how she wants to approach it, because it kind of feels like we need the push to get the public access plan in place first. That's really what we need to move any of this forward. And then part two is if they can do it in 2021, and we have an issue, you know, if CPC doesn't want to move forward with paying for the project, then we would have the option of the grant. But
Yep.
you
I
know,
guess
Yeah, but we
my
can't do
feeling-
anything without the access plan.
You
I guess
can't.
is what you're saying. That's
Yeah.
just
I-
everything.
I'm with you, Tom. I guess my feeling is I have no problem asking for two things and being willing to accept one.
okay, but go ahead. And ask.
Yeah, so, you know, first priority absolutely is the access plan. And then second is, can we at least ask them if they would pay for half the fencing?
No. What should we say? Pay, and we need funding for fencing around that, whatever we call that,
Right.
the access tunnel. In lieu of a long-term public access, we would need to have DCA fund the fence or something like that. I don't know the words. Should we do all the fencing because it is on DCR land? If they're only going to give us 5 years, we could hit that same argument. Why are we spending town money?
So so I feel like if I were DCR, I'd be like, yeah, we'll pay for it. You got to submit a grant. And that's how it's.
So let them say that, but at least we can go to town meeting and saying that we put in the ask.
Yes, we put the ask in, we applied for the grant was denied or not for the full funding, we're asking for the remaining balance.
Right.
I mean, we-
Worst case scenario, I guess my feeling is, Kat, worst case scenario is if we continue with the request from CPA for 30 grand, and we say to them, you know, it would be fencing and signage. If they say no to the fencing, then we've got 30 grand to put signage up all around.
Well, it's all on DCR land, so I would want, the committee has to be comfortable that we're putting signage on non-town owned land.
And I don't think, I don't think in this town that's going to be that big a deal. When you think about it, you know, they're putting out $2.3 million to do work on the library, which technically should be coming out of the general fund.
You mean the townhouse?
No, the library, the
I
front,
thought the library had $1 million. I thought it was $1 million.
it's more, maybe, I'll go back and check again.
It's still a
But
lot of money.
it's
It
still a
is,
lot of
it
money.
is a lot. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
30 grand is not a lot of money when we're looking at it.
I get it.
My feeling is the worst is that they say no, which I'm not sure that they're going to do.
Yep.
But at least since the placeholder is there, it gives us more exposure. It gives us greater opportunity. And I think, that opportunity to be able to put that signage up there is going to increase, not only usage, but again, to Tom's point, showing more about the history.
Yeah, I'm not advocating for taking the application away.
Okay.
We've just got some challenges we got to work
Yeah.
for. And playing devil's advocate was taking the worst of what we heard and really working through solutions, right? Because to your point, if we move forward, because this money, if we can reserve some money for this project, can be our matching funds for our next grant round,
Exactly.
Right.
2022, which we were lacking this year anyway. Right. So if we could work with the committee, and maybe the stipulation that they would have in there is that, that if the money allocated for the fencing can only be for half the cost of the fencing, to ensure that we're working diligently to get other funds.
Right.
Maybe if that's the stipulation, then that would work out.
So,
But I'll
so
read-
let's just go back to the letter to Representative Dykma. Are we asking just to push along the public access? Let's, or do you want to do the two ask? I think we should go back to that. What's our letter to her?
Well, I think it should be a meeting with her.
Well, we have to start with an introduction, an email. So just for the background, we did talk to Carolyn Dykema at the Burroughs Loop grand opening last October, and she walked up to me and said, how can I help? So my email subject line to her is, how can you help? Right?
No.
Circle
You
back.
referenced that time and you said how I can help. This is how you can help.
So yeah, so I think we have to start with an email, right? To give
All
some background, and then we can invite her to a meeting or have an offline meeting, as long as we're not a quorum or, violating open meeting law. And then discuss that. Maybe that's the better approach, is
Yes,
just give the background. Don't give the full ask, as she will look at this recording and find out the details anyway. But don't do the full ask, and see if we could set up a meeting to discuss how we could work together and move things forward.
And explain in the email, since it's not an official thing, how can we move forward with the access plan? And two, how can we overcome the hurdle of fencing on state land with town-owned funds? We just ask her to help us, not help us, help you. That's a Jerry Maguire. But
Yeah.
we have two challenges. One, to get the access, and two is we have to fence in the access tunnel. But without a long-term access, it could be challenging through town politics or town meeting.
Yeah.
And
And
just,
the other question is, how long are these access plans in place? Like,
Yeah.
what's the term?
and she might tell us, oh, we can give you a 20-year one if that's what you're asking. And that should be a no-brainer for anybody ejected on the CBC committee.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
All right, that's a good idea. I think I like the email.
Yep.
And like she's very approachable. I met her that one time and shops. I think you were there too, Kat?
No, she's wonderful.
Yes, she is. She is very engaging.
Oh, at the master plan committee.
Yes.
Yeah. Yep. Okay, good. So we'll do that. And hopefully by the time that we've done that, DCR would have already received the other few letters. So this will all kind of come in sequence, right? And we're building momentum for the big strike.
And yeah, I mentioned how the other communities have been sending letters to DCI. I mean,
Yeah.
we're on because we're not on a peninsula.
Yes. Wait, because we're, what?
Peninsula
Keep on
Trail.
going, Kat. Just keep on going.
Come on, Kat.
Okay, so I do want to just say because we didn't get to talk about this, the quotes that came in from the fencing, right? Tom, you've had a chance to look at those, right?
Yeah. So again, a lot of those things, I again, horse and buggy type of things. We do have the 3 quotes. We do have competitive stuff.
Horse and buggy?
Horse and buggy.
Okay,
Horse
keep
and
going.
buggy. Horse behind the cart,
Oh, putting the horse in front of the cart. Oh, sorry. Okay, keep going. Thank you.
the chicken and the egg. We do have competing quotes and stuff like that. So,
Well, the first thing I noticed is that they came in a lot higher. A
mhm.
lot higher, double what the first quote came in at. Okay, so we're no longer talking about a $28,000 proposal. We're in the yeah, so add 12, so we're at like the low 40s.
And that's, did the first one have prevailing wages? I don't remember.
No, that New England Fence did not. So I reached out to them. I don't know if you were on that email. I thought you might have been, but I asked if their quote included prevailing wages, and if not, could they provide that? I
don't remember something back from them.
I did not hear back from them. So I'm a little on the fence about what that means. So I did speak with Lori Esposito about CPA funds, because I wanted to understand this whole bid process and what our procurement process and when it triggers a bid. And she explained that if the entire project is kept under 50K, that it should be fine to be able to choose your vendors as you need, that the project doesn't have to go to bid.
50K now?
Well, I say it's 50K, but I feel like no one really knows the whole story. So if that comes back as changed, I'm not going to be surprised, and I'll just invite you not to be surprised too. There's a lot of details with what the different things, because there's 5,000 limit for some things, there's a $10,000 for other things, and I spoke with her and she's like, it's 50,000. So the question is, if it goes over 50, what happens is, she said it has to go to bid, and the entire project has to be bid on by one vendor, which is absolutely absurd and impossible, because no fencing vendor does signage and installation and all the above, right? So we're never going to find one person. So that makes it impossible in that way. But she assured me that anyway, so we talked about that. So if the project is approaching that number now that we have this new these new quotes. So if we had the choice of choosing our vendor at this point, if we were allowed within the parameters, I'm thinking AnyFence came back, and I really appreciated, Tom, you didn't get to meet Mohawk, and I thought Mohawk was fine, but AnyFence has a lot of experience working with municipalities. You know, he brought up the prevailing
Yes,
wage.
yes.
He's really used to that process. So that gives me great comfort to know that, which is why Aero Fencing was one of our first choice vendors. But
I agree with you on that. Like I said, they did I think the town of Medway, one of the M's on 109. They did a lot of their own, the town fencing, like Arrow does a lot of Southborough.
that's disappointing to hear.
And he definitely knew his stuff, although he's a little rough, but he definitely knew his stuff.
Well, that's okay, right? So yeah, the difference in quotes, 31.9 for prevailing wages, and 23.4.
Which one's which?
You just take your guess there. You just take
And we have to, again, he even said, with the delay in any projects, add 20%.
that was for increase in supplies, right?
Yeah.
Well, I hope he's wrong about that, because we can't work with 20% higher than this, or you can't hire him, because this is absurd. This is a lot of. Does anyone know about fencing? I just feel like it's a lot of money for some fence.
It's prevailing wage, though. You have to pay them $60, $70 an hour, where somebody else could have, not kids, but a lot of grunt workers for $15, $20 an hour.
Well, I'm all for fair wage, absolutely, going on record saying that out loud. But at the same time, this is a large difference in quotes. And anyway, so it's a lot of money. So that was those two. And then Mohawk came back at 20,000 and 30,000. So they were very close.
So it's the 30,000 is the prevailing wage, it seems like.
Oh, wait a minute. Oh, wait a second. I've got something else. So Mohawk did something to do the same fence line listed without the barbed wire. Oh, with the barbed wire was 23. Without the barbed wire was 20,000. And the prevailing wage for oh, the prevailing, so it's 23 and 30 and 23 and 31. So they came in
Yeah.
really close.
Yes. And we haven't heard from the one in Southborough. I forget the name of that one.
Yeah, New England Fence. Well,
And and I think their lineage was a little bit short though.
yeah, we did. I did think so. I did think so. What did they
I'm-
do for their fencing? Did you get a linear? Do you have that?
See, I'm getting a new laptop because I can't be doing a lot of this town stuff on my work laptop anymore. So I'm in the middle of the laptops. So I would bring it.
I got 230 on this one. 230. Oh, that's weird. Why would they have different 232, 230? Oh,
230 and 232 is roughly about the same. But,
that's the same quote.
and then you have the fencing though. You remember you have the not the gates. You have that.
But why would it change with any fence? Like it's the same quote. If there's just one's more expensive than the other, and they just they change the. It's not like prevailing wages are going to require 2 less feet.
No, yeah, that's wrong. It's a mistake.
Little details. Yeah, and the other guy did not. I don't see a number. I'd have to add up what he's saying here. Yeah. So, but before I forget, I did speak when I was speaking with MAPC, David Lautzenheiser, about
MAPC?
Yep, Metropolitan Area Planning Council.
Yeah.
Right. So I spoke with him about the letter of support, and he just wanted to get updated on the status of the projects. And he mentioned that MWRA has went for the Aqueduct Trail, that they have money set aside for each community to put up 2 interpretive signs for the Aqueduct Trail. So, and that's separate from the granite signage that they put up at Deerfoot and the one you just discovered, Tom, off of Ward Road.
Okay.
So that's interesting, because if that's true, then I need to reach out with Sean Nevin, our contact at MWA, and confirm that, because that would, not that, I don't know that they would allow us to put anything else on their signage, but that might take down our signage quote just a tad from that. But our quotes came in for signage. Terra Built came in at 12,122. And Baldwin, that was the Georgia one, 12,934. And then Fossil, the one that quoted, they were the first ones that we used in the application that did the Ashland Marathon Park, came in at the 7515. So Fossil was definitely less expensive, but their shipping was $1,000, which is so funny. It's not funny at all, but it's
Road trip.
Right. I'm with
Because-
Tom.
Road trip.
What'd you say?
I'm with
Road
Tom.
trip.
Road trip.
I know, right, road trip after COVID. Baldwin only charged $321 for,
But I think Baldwin's, aren't they in New York?
Baldwin is in Georgia,
Georgia.
and Terrabuilt is in New York, to your
Oh.
point. And I don't see it shipping on Terrabuilt. Yeah. So anyway, the 2 came in pretty close. Fossil came in under. So that's good. That's good that, I feel like we've got good quotes for each of the vendors, and then we don't need any further quotes. So
Hey,
I
should
think,
we? I hate to say this, but for the CPA, and you just shoot me down right away. This is a joke, yeah.
All right.
But for the CPA application, should we just do 2 of them? One for signage, one for fencing, and don't tie them together?
Thank you.
I don't know if you can do that.
Yes.
I don't know if one committee can have 2 projects at the same
Why
time.
not?
It's
I
still
don't-
one, no, because you have it in as one, as one application, and you can shift it, because right now it says signage and fencing. So I'm pretty sure we can shift it up until town meeting.
Do
I
we-
asked a member,
Keep
let
rid
me,
of that, shift it.
the amount that's in there.
Well, we can, yes, right. We can, but we can change it up. It needs to be, it can't be changed at town meeting up. It can be changed down at town meeting.
Yeah, the total amount.
Yeah.
So
It
we can
could-
shift it. So if we put in for 30 grand, right?
Yep.
If we were to pull the fencing part out, we could up the signage.
I'm just thinking, should we just go for that? I hate to use baseball, but should we just do for that single at this town meeting? because it's coming hopefully in March or whenever they announce it, April, to get the signage. We have the money. Now it's ours.
Yep.
Now let's fight for that fencing because there's a lot of unknowns in the fencing.
Well, so I like that,
I'm with you.
except that if we kept them together, right, and we were able to get funding for some part of this project, and then we still can't move on the signage until we have a public access plan. But
Right.
whatever we use, I guess we should think through whatever we have for funding. Can we use it for matching funds? Like, I would really like to use that. for
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah.
funds
Yeah.
for
Yep.
the grant.
I'm with,
So
I'm
if we
with you.
did keep it as a package and just get kind of put some stipulations on it by the committee, then we could still kind of keep it, I don't know. if
Okay.
there's any-
Okay. That's a good argument that way.
But
I'm with
no
you.
argument, maybe we explore with the committee what, because I don't think if we split the applications, we can't submit another application now. The deadline's passed, right? So if we split it out,
We don't need to split.
Okay.
But what I'm thinking is, and I will ask the committee this, or a couple of people, what if we were to change up, still keep it as signage for trails? But if we're not going to get that portion of the trails done, maybe use the signage elsewhere on the trails.
No, because I think you have to earmark it for that project. You can't just make an application for this and spend it on that.
But we're not. We're still talking about
what we,
signage within a
Oh,
DCR.
signage versus aqueduct trail signage. Historical markers along the aqueduct trail.
right, and we did,
Hi, no, hello, welcome home. Oh,
I wanted to take pictures of the router.
Of the router? Do you need the number? Here.
I need the password. I need the Wi-Fi, Ma.
How did you know,
Patrick
Tom?
needs the password.
I got it on my camera. It's in what?
That's what I thought.
It's
but
in
I-
my photos. Hold on a
I
sec.
am so sorry to interrupt. I
Not a
did
problem. It's okay
You
here.
should just request it from your mother's Apple.
So I tried, I have it, but
Right.
he's trying to get it on his Kindle, so he actually needs to input it.
A Kindle. Who uses a Kindle? What are you, old people over there?
Excuse me, Tom, we're in a meeting. Keep going.
okay. So there are 2 sign locations that we've included in this grant application, or this application, that are off of the Peninsula Trail.
Mm-hmm.
That Bay Circuit connector we just created. So I
Yep.
put in for 2 signs on that trail. So in essence, we've expanded beyond this little scope of the Peninsula project. But we did not, and I guess we could consider doing this. We talked initially about, do we want to consider signage for other parts of the trail along the town? And I think that the consensus of the committee, as I understood it, was, no, let's just focus on this piece here. Because what we could do, just as we think broader and bigger, is if we wanted to, in our trails grant next year, include more signage for the rest of the trail.
Okay.
Right?
Okay.
So if we get funding, and then our seed money, or our matching funds would be, we could leverage our CPC funds perhaps for that bigger project.
Okay. All right. So like I said, just shoot that idea down. So it's still the one application. But like I said, at the last minute, if there's too much
Christina,
uncertainty and angst around the fencing, we could just pull that out before town meeting and just go for.
Yeah, but I would like to, these are really good questions. I just want to clarify. It really helped us kind of stop and think like, well, yeah, why would the town, and we talked about that too. Like after we met with Jamie in July, Jamie's like, oh yeah, you can go ahead with the fencing. I'm like, well, why would we do fencing without a public access plan? That feels a little, strange, but let's do it and see where we go. So, I appreciate the questions. Let's find a way that will make all parties, there's got to be a path forward. And if CPC funding can help us get to that path in a comfortable way, that would be great.
Now, general question, since I wasn't there and I didn't watch the recording, which I will. If the one person asking those questions, if they didn't ask that question, would this just fly by?
No, I think there were others. It seemed like others were interested to know the answer to those questions as well. So
If the questions were never asked, would this fly by?
I think part of the problem, I think what happened was that there was another person who's no longer on the committee, but is involved in the committee, who asked members of the committee to check the numbers. And so I think that that was one of the reasons why they brought it up. I
No,
do
just curious,
believe,
just curious.
yeah, no, I did, and watch it. I do believe that there were 4 out of 5 people who immediately were going to go ahead and approve it.
But we got a placeholder, people.
No, I know, no, we're still gonna get money. I mean, I think the town is very appreciative of all this stuff that we're doing.
Oh yeah, and it's a good lesson because all the work we're doing is just we're building on tomorrow, right? Everything
Yes,
you've
yes.
done, we can use another day, and so I'm
Yes.
feeling very positive. Even if this changes and shifts all around, it's okay. We're still moving forward, and like I said, the committee they're not against the project. It's just asking the fiscal questions about who should be paying for some of this, which they have to as a committee who's in charge of taxpayer dollars. And so we should, I appreciate
Right.
that. As I'm sure.
And the glass half full is, these things could come up at town meeting and we don't want to be fumbling then, so.
Right.
It's good that this is all vented out now.
Nope, I would rather vet it now by this very small controlled group.
Yes, agreed.
Put in front of town hall or town meeting, and everyone had been locked up for a year and it's their first outing and they're out for blood. And the
Yeah.
trail committee goes down in flames.
No, well,
I know it won't happen that way, but
No, and
so as one of the suggestions to help the committee see this potential of this really awesome piece of land that could be our future trail, Isabel had a wonderful idea about doing a guided walk. And so it's a little last minute, but it is possible. Everything's possible. So I reached out to Andy Leahy, who was the DCR ranger who did the guided hike in 2019. And I said, hey, long shot, we know it's short notice, but maybe, would you be open to doing a walk with us, a very private group, a committee? I gave them the background and who they were. If they were interested, I was like, you're the first person I'm asking. Nobody's agreed to this, just checking it out with you first. He said, oh, thank you for asking. I've got to run it up the flagpole. I'll be back. I'm like, okay, I'm in the meantime going to be asking DCR and MWA if we can have permission to walk on those trails. So I've done that. I've not heard back from them yet. I'm pretty certain if other public is allowed in there, that this controlled walk with a ranger or even without a ranger would be okay for a small period of time. We're not looking to dilly-dally, we're going to be responsible people. And I did reach out to Tim Davis. I'm going to pick up the orange vests tomorrow, just in case. So I'll have them on hand. And then I was really hoping to hear from DCR and MWA first before reaching out to the CPC committee, because it's really getting to the point where they're not going to check their emails anymore for Thanksgiving. So let me ask the committee, I'm kind of feeling like I should write an email tonight to the committee with an invitation, the Community Preservation Committee, and say, hey, special invitation just for you. Would you like to join us on Saturday for this event? And if DCR can't lead, that's okay. We can. Like, we're just doing a
I
quick
still
walk.
remember some of those marker areas and stuff, because I was very interested in, so
Yeah.
we can, from what we did before. Now, the only thing is, you said Saturday, which is fine by me. So if you notice those intent on the DCR land is no hunting on Sundays. So no need for orange vest or anything if it's a Sunday.
That's actually really interesting, because I was a little nervous about going out there myself. And we went out last year with DCR with Andy and it was fine. But I'll tell you, Tom, when I was out there, I went out there, it was after a fencing quote, I ran. I was like, and I had my vest on and I was like a little more nervous because you never know.
I had that ponytail on my head.
So yeah, that might make people a little more comfortable, but I don't think we'll get Andy on Sunday.
I know. I'm just throwing that. It just.
I was thinking rain date. Like, what if it rains? Do we propose 2 because it's last minute, or people can't come one day or the other? If it is on Sunday, we need to be respectful of church, so it'll be more of an early afternoon, and then people, it's in the middle of their day.
Yeah.
What do you
So I'm fine either Saturday or Sunday. Just either way is good for me.
Okay. See, we might not get any takers, but we might get a few. Because the other thing is, if we don't do this Saturday, our meeting is next Tuesday, right? Or whenever the second, when is the second? It's next Wednesday.
Wednesday. I
Our
think
second
Wednesday.
meeting with CPC. So we were hoping to kind of squeeze it in between. So do you think I should? Okay. So there could be
No, I agree.
there's some challenge. We've got some obstacles, but hey, that's never stopped us before. We're in the middle of figuring things out. So I should send out the invite tonight and just
Do we
say,
have to make a motion or anything?
I think we should probably vote on it to move forward with this idea. And then, I can put out a preliminary email. It'll be, I don't think we're going to get a no, right?
Yeah, I think you've put the offer out there saying we might have a guided tour, and you could say, until he gets back to you. If not, we do, and we're waiting for, do we need permission to walk on the land?
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah. I mean, hunters are out there with a permit, so they technically have permission already.
Yeah, okay.
And DCR and MWA have requested that anytime any one of us are on that property, that we let them know. And
Okay.
I know people sneak by all the time. I can't control all that. And we want to kind of follow the rules as much as we can. So it's a courtesy.
Yep, no, agreed. I think you should send out the letter today. Today's Tuesday. Send it out, just saying we might have a guided tour and we're just waiting for permission from DCR.
Yeah. And even if Andy doesn't, I'll say, we would like to do a little guided walk, and we may have a special visitor, we might not. But
Yep. I think you
and
should.
if you feel comfortable. And so this is the next question. So, I know there's a limit of number of people that can be in a group. So I try to do a little research today, because when we did our guided hike for Halloween, the number was like 12 outdoors, included a guide, but more information as I've looked up, I've kind of, so social distancing and capacity limits. If you're hosting an outdoor event, like at an event venue, that's hotel, private clubs, or space available for lease, or in a public setting, example, public parks, the permitted capacity depends on whether the community is at a low risk or not. I think
We are low risk right now.
Yep. So for communities in phase 3, step 1, which I think is us. Maybe it's, I don't know what step we're in. There's too many phases and too many steps. But anyway, it's either no more than 50 or no more than 100.
Oh, geez.
Yeah. So I'm feeling like I found this information. I have a link to it. It's mask.gov, and I'm sure someone will challenge it. And I don't mind that they challenge it, but this is the best I got right now. And this is what I'm going to go with. And if anyone feels uncomfortable, they don't have to come. So I think this is following the rules. I think this is what the guidelines are. Wear a mask, stay apart, and that's what we'll do. And so what I'm saying when I say that is bring your family. If you want to bring your spouse or your children and you want to get out for a little walk, feel free to do so. The only big, and I remember feeling this last year when we had our guided hike, was like, I was crushed when I realized it was hunting season and we were having all these people come, but they still all came. Like we had almost 30 people.
Safety in numbers when you're hunting, because we make noise and they can hear us and they pay attention. So,
for those, there will be some of us who feel uncomfortable and some of us won't. So we'll just, put it out there as an invite. If we get a few people, now, if it's just a trails committee, I don't think unless you guys want to go.
So if it's just a trails committee, can we bring our 4-legged family members?
No, you can't bring your 4-legged. What is wrong? We're trying to promote water.
I know. That was just a tease.
I would love to see Winston. I really would. And is it Rory? Right?
Rory.
Because I have an Ori, and I'll probably get that confused one day.
Oh, you're telling me that?
So, no, I have an Ori the cat, but I would love to see your 4-legged friends. But yeah, so we can't do that. Okay, so we'll see how that goes, and if we get some takers, that will be good. Now, if we don't, we can always, I know this isn't popular, but we can kind of put together a little virtual tour of some. I actually probably have some video from that hike, or some pictures and stuff, just to kind of give more of a visual of what it looks like for people who don't have that.
So if nobody shows from the CPC and we have permission to do the hike.
No, I'm not opening it to the public.
No. Should we, I mean, I wouldn't mind going on that hike again.
Yeah.
Thank
So okay, this is interesting. This could be a site walk for us because we need to think about placement of signage. And this, if we're all open to it and available, I would be down with that because I had to kind of guess what we were doing. And for our application, this would give us a chance to talk about what, as long as we
Yep.
don't have form.
I agree. And if you want to feel more comfortable, we can do it on a Sunday with no hunting.
Oh, if it doesn't fly with a group. Oh,
Yeah, if it doesn't fly with the
as long as you walk first, I'm totally okay.
I'll wear camouflage.
Well, I can guarantee you one member of the CPA is going to be there.
Okay.
So, I mean, Mark's going to go, either way.
Okay.
You
So
pick
we'll
the
do-
day.
Would he go as a CPC committee member or would
Yes,
he
he
go as
would.
a private citizen?
He'd go as a CPC committee member.
No, I'm just saying it. Yeah, I'm just saying, we still want to do that hike no matter what, I guess is what I'm saying.
Yeah, and
Yeah,
I'm calling it a walk, just so you know.
It's
Yeah,
a
so-
walk, yes.
Yeah.
It's
So, I mean,
a walk.
at least he'll be
Word.
able to talk about the specific area.
Yes, I think that'll be important to
Yeah.
to get a little bit more familiar with it.
Okay, good. Thank you for talking through that with me. So that I'll send that out tonight and see if we can get any takers. And I will invite them to bring, their immediate loved ones, not people who are visiting from out of the state.
That's why I'm saying, Isabel, if no CPC people come, then Mark can be just your family member that joins us on the site.
Gotcha. Yeah,
Of
No,
a official capacity.
gotcha.
And I don't know how this works, like if they had a quorum and we had a quorum and it's, so
They
you're
have
allowed
to
to
post the
have,
meetings. They have to post their meeting as being there, don't they?
but it's not a meeting. So you're allowed to have a site walk. And if you have quorum, you're just not allowed to deliberate on your site walk. It makes
Okay,
it
okay,
tricky.
okay.
It makes it hard but we can follow those rules and
Okay,
talk about it in our next meeting.
oh, I didn't know about that. That's good to know.
So you can write down your good thoughts and take a note.
Can you email you, being the chairwoman, our thoughts after the walk?
Yes, you could send me thoughts after the walk as an individual. Send them
Okay.
to me. That would be a good idea to get them off your. So do we want to does someone want to make a motion to move forward with that? Motion to,
I'll-
Oh, go ahead, Tom.
You said it first.
Yes, I propose a motion that we go ahead with a site walk and invite CPA so that they can see it. And either way, we do it.
okay.
I'll second that.
Thank you. So we'll do a roll call vote and Isabel Murphy,
Yes,
Tom McCoolier,
Yes.
and Kat McKee is a yes, unanimous pass. Thank you. Okay, I think I know you got to go, going to be really quick.
my dinner's cold.
Okay, so we got an email today from Board of Selectmen. They've invited us, as they've been doing with all of the other boards and committees and commissions, to present a few minutes on updates, what we've been working on. So that's for next Tuesday, the 1st at 6:30. So I said yes. And I said, can we add a couple slides? Nothing major, but when you're talking trails, slides and pictures are so much better. And so she agreed. So I'll send those off to her tomorrow. So if you guys are available, if not, you can just watch the recording. I asked for a time limit. I'm sure it's just short, but I'm going to try to be really short, just to give a few highlights of what we've been doing. And we appreciated the invite.
Okay.
So I think that's most of what we were going to discuss. Trails maintenance plan, we'll talk about it later in the 5-year plan also. It's, I think we're in good
We
shape.
talked briefly about that email we all got from Marjorie about a grant.
About the grant.
Yeah.
Was that the one she sent it to us about that was the DCR grant?
Is it DC or it's some kind of trails? I can bring it out.
Yeah. And then there was another one actually. Isabel, if you need to go, you can, well, actually, if you go, there's no quorum.
Right, yeah.
we
no,
can still discuss the email without making any decisions, can't we?
Yeah, I don't know. If it was sent, that's my bad. Was it sent to the town email? Because I don't know what Tom's talking about.
It was sent to the Southborough Town one.
Oh, sorry. Okay.
I've got it. I can pull it up.
Trails Grant, open for applications. And this is from the CMRPC.
Oh, that's different. Thank you. Let me share my screen and see if, can you see my email?
Not
Right.
yet.
Not yet.
Can you see it now?
Give it a,
Yeah.
yes.
She just sent it, right?
She sent it at, yesterday,
How do you spell? Oh, there it is.
Marijk. She sent it at 2:16 yesterday. There it is.
Oh.
You responded, and I just want to just get an understanding
Oh,
because you.
she notified through a CMRPC email that 2021 Mass Trails Grant. Yeah, that's the DCR Mass Trails Grant.
Okay, that's
She was
DCR.
informed, so that, yeah, that's the same one. So she was informed by the CMRPC, is the same organization that we are, that's doing that interactive mapping. That planning council, the Central Metro West Planning Council, that's who's doing that interactive mapping. By the way, we don't have any updates on that. So thank you for bringing that up, but I did reply to her that unfortunately we're not able to, but to that point, Mark Purple, can you still see my screen?
Mhm.
Okay, so he sent around an opportunity with a community connections grant. Oh, there's an info session on 11/16 I missed. Oh. See below for a grant announcement through the Boston MPO, whatever that stands for. Metropolitan Planning Org, maybe. So funding program for first last mile solutions, community transportation and other small
Are
non-traditional.
you reading something? I can't see what you're reading.
Yeah,
You can't see my email that's up right now?
I can see your email, but I think you're reading someplace down below.
Do you see the
Following
email?
up on
community?
my email of 11/9 to see if anyone would be submitting a grant application.
Yes. So when I scroll down, do you get to see that piece?
No, we don't get to see that. I don't.
no,
Okay, let me do a new share because I think
You're frozen?
here we go. How about that?
Yep.
You see this?
Yep.
Okay,
Yep.
there we go. Now start reading here. Good afternoon. This is the piece.
Non-traditional transportation products such as those.
Transit signal priority and shuttles. So what's interesting to us here, I think maybe it might be a stretch, but we need to do at Central Street and Route 30, we need to have a pedestrian walk put in there and a crosswalk, right? And we also need to, there's a section of trail off of Atkins Road near the train station that MAPC is trying to connect on their landline. That it's just a network of existing trails. So they would come out of Hopkinton State Park and go through this private property way sort of and come down there and across to this train. So this was something we met on like years ago, but there's like an opportunity to put a crosswalk there. So what I'm saying with all of that is this might be a way we could get a couple of those things funded. And I think, Tom, you had brought up maybe improving some of our crosswalks in town. Is there any solution here? So, and Mark wrote back again today. Did any of us have any thoughts on this? The due date is December 11th. So, and he wrote it to Karen and Tim and EDC as well. So I can look into this and see if there's any slice of the, if the other groups, we're not looking to lead this because it's not our thing, but and we don't really have the right environment just yet for biking, unfortunately.
yeah.
Well, with this grant, so you just mentioned Central Street and Route 30 there. Should we, I mean, this does seem like that grant for the signaling to get across transit single priority. Get across the road, we need a signal, a crosswalk signal. If you want to forward, I'll also read in this, see if, twisting the rules a little bit, see if that would actually fund that. But I guess we need Karen if she, I guess, is that a state road?
Mass 30 is DOT, yes.
So that would be more, this is something I just don't know anything about. Is like, if we get a grant to put in a crosswalk there and DOT says no, what happens?
Well, I would assume you'd want a letter of support from DOT before you.
Yeah,
right?
and I don't think we'll get any of this stuff before the December 11th.
Yeah.
What? You're not. what? It's a couple weeks. What are you kidding? Oh, it's like a week and a half. Okay, well, let's look
I
into
mean,
it.
I wouldn't mind,
I'll
send
send it.
send that one to me. I would like to read it too, so you don't have to be the only one to have eyes
Yeah,
on.
no, thank you. If you have any time to dig into it and let me know what you think, that would be fabulous because I'm a little bit stretched. So our next, just to close the loop, so I'll send this to the committee so they'll have, all of you will have it. But we're meeting next Wednesday, the 2nd at CPC. So if anyone wants to attend, I don't know what our next step is with this really, other than to continue the conversation and hopefully have a site walk and maybe we come up with some good ideas before now and then.
Well, you said the 2nd, that's the Board of Selectmen is on 12/1.
12/1 is the Tuesday, and then the Wednesday 12/2 is CPC.
Okay, I'm just writing these things down. Thank you.
Yeah,
Oh.
CPC is at 7, Selectmen's at 6:30. I don't know
Yeah.
what time our slot is for Selectmen, so keep that in mind too.
You see, one of the things I want, one of the things I'll take it on myself too is like the crosswalk en route. Well, it's Marlborough Road going to where we cleaned up.
Oh,
There's-
the East Main Street one?
Yeah, at the end of East Main, there's like no paint left on the street. There's
Right.
there's trail crossing, but there's no paint there.
Yep.
I don't know if these are the type of things we can, this is one of the things I'm gonna rate. If we can't do a whole crossing at Central Street, which I think it's probably a little bit earlier, let's get the funds to give to Karen to paint all those crossings.
Yeah.
Give it a fresh coat of paint, including Middle Road. I'll see the condition of that one. All the way that crosses over a road, we should make sure the signage is appropriate and it's painted over or whatever they
That's
do.
a really good point.
Yeah, thank you. So thank you. If you don't mind doing, and if you need
No.
help doing the site walk, the visits, I'm happy to drive around with you so we can get that information. Do we want to, so can we set our next meeting so we can let everyone go? And because of that, if the grant's due on the 11th and because December is a holiday month, do we want to meet early the week of December 7th, just in case we are able to pull something together? Which we can do offline and before then, and then be ready to talk about it and do any votes if we have to.
Yep.
So when do we next, master plan is the 16th, Tom, do you have that date up on your calendar by any chance? I think I have it, I think on the 16th. So would Tuesday, the 8th work?
Yes, it is 16th.
Okay. So would Tuesday, the 8th work for you, Isabel and Tom? Okay.
Yes, that's fine.
And
Tuesday.
I'll reach out to Mr. Satie and confirm with him. So we'll try 6:30 on the 8th. And then if we are able to move forward, we may be able to do some stuff offline until we can do that. Not together and not breaking open meeting law.
Got it.
I have a motion to adjourn.
I'll second it.
Oh, I was asking for a motion, or can I?
Oh, I will make a motion to adjourn the meeting at 7:40 PM.
All right, and I will second it.
Okay, I got to do a roll call vote. I'm trying not to forget those anymore. So Isabel
Yes.
and Tom McCluer
Yes.
and Kat McKee. Great. So we are adjourned. Have a great Thanksgiving, everyone.
Thank you.
You too.
I hope our little site walk, well, it'll be successful no matter what, because we are.
We're going